I want to welcome you back to Herk's Workshop. I'm Mr. B, and today we're going to be taking a look at the demonstration that the professor calls the Whoosh Jug. So this will be used to demonstrate, besides just the wow of the whoosh, you can also use it to teach a lesson on air pressure. So let me show you what you need. You need a jug, and you need something to make it go whoosh, obviously. Just your plastic water jug, be sure it's dry on the inside. And you don't need a lid. You'll provide the capping later. So let me walk you through how this is going to work. We'll either use some 70% rubbing alcohol, 91% rubbing alcohol, or for this particular one today, I have denatured ethanol. Any of those alcohol-based fuels like that will work just fine. And so what you'll do is measure out about 20 milliliters, which I've already done. You don't need a lot because actually our goal is to get it in there and then to get it to vaporize and fill the jug full of these alcohol fumes. And so if you're using this to teach air pressure lesson, you can show how sturdy and how springy the jug is, and explain to your audience that you can use air pressure to do the work for you. And so as you begin to teach about air pressure, you'll want to explain to your audience that air pressure is coming at us from every direction. It's inside pushing out, it's outside pushing in. Everything likes to be in a state of equilibrium and wants to be equal. That's why when you go up a mountain or take off in a plane, your ears pop, and when you're coming back down, then there's that pressure going the opposite direction. And so the air pressure inside our bodies wants to equalize with what's outside. That's why sometimes our ears pop. Sometimes we'll chew gum or we'll go, and just to get that all balanced out. So as you're teaching about air pressure, you can explain that 1 square inch column of air, as far up as there would be air, would weigh 15 pounds. And so you've got this 1 square inch column pushing down with 15 pounds of pressure. And then if you measure it out, you can figure out how many pounds of pressure are pushing down on a particular item. And you know, why doesn't it crush? Because there's also air that's pushing up and pushing in. And so it's all that pushing in, and everything gets to a nice state of equilibrium, and we're comfortable. That's why when you go underwater, you feel the pressure. When you take off in a plane, you feel the pressure. So we're going to use air pressure to help us to crush this particular water jug. And so for that, you'll take your 20 milliliters of fuel, put that in there. Generally, as the professor is doing this, he's explaining kind of what's going on and telling them to watch carefully and all those kinds of things. And so we have this, he's at the same time you're also shaking this around because you want to get the liquid spread on the inside there of the jug. I would encourage you also, as you're doing this, to be sure you have a rag around to help you clean up any mess that you might make. You don't want it on your hands or on the table. This alcohol. Any extra that you have, you might want to do it out here, and as you're dumping this out, kind of turn it around a little like this so that the alcohol that's coming out is getting all on the inside the neck of this particular jug. So you're not going to have a whole lot left because most of it is going to have vaporized, but you do want to get out what you can. It's okay if there's a little left. It's not that big a deal. Alright, so I think I've already mentioned, but let me remind you again if I haven't, that you want to keep a fire blanket or an extinguisher or something around just in case. Most of the time this is not a problem. So let me explain what we're going to do. We're going to take our flame and we're going to put it in at the top. When that happens, it will create a whoosh effect. You'll see the blue flame usually shooting out the top of the jug. And that will burn for just a couple of seconds at most. And then it's going to stop. And as soon as the fire goes out, take your hand, flat hand, stick it on top like that, and just hold it there. And then air pressure will do the work for us. And because of the heated air, it has less pressure. And so once we cap it off, then this cooler air, the heavier air, is going to push it in to try to balance things out. So let's just do it, and we'll talk about it a little bit more afterwards. But here we go, the Whoosh Jug. Okay, there was the whoosh. Get your hand on it as soon as you can. You don't have to push or mash or anything. You can see that air pressure has done the work for us. And now there's an equal amount of air pressure on the inside as the outside. But what had to be done is the air inside had to be compressed. And so that is what caused our jug to mash. Now you can take your hand off. Generally when you take your hand off, it's going to pop back out. You may have to manipulate it a little bit. Let's just see what happens. There we go. So almost as good as new. You'll see some crevices perhaps. You can do this a couple of times with one particular jug and then eventually it'll develop a crack. You can only do this one time with each jug unless you, there we go, got it the rest of the way. Unless you empty it out, rinse it out, let it air out and dry out, because you'll see that there's some liquid in here. And what's left inside here is not alcohol but water that has come, and so that's all that's left. Everything else is burned off, so we have a little bit of water here. Those are some of the principles behind this. And you saw how capped it as soon as the whoosh goes out. It's not particularly hot. It's warm. It's still warm. But then when you cap it like that, then you don't let the air pressure balance out. And so what happens is the heavier air pressure, the more air pressure on the outside pushes it in. And that's what causes the jug to crunch. So air pressure has done all the work for us. And you get a nice whoosh out of it. Just, be sure you check above you whenever you're doing this and give yourself plenty of room, because even though the flame may only go about this high, the heat and it kind of got a little rocket going on here, a little rocket action. So just be sure that you check above you when you're doing this. So that is the Whoosh Jug. I'm Mr. B, and this is Herk's Workshop. Thanks for stopping by.